episode 76. Thanks for joining Strange Brow Radio. I'm your host, Tobe Johnson, and this month, this day out of the month, it's time for another Ales and Tales with Alex Witcombe. The topic at hand, debunking, taking a closer look at phenomena and separating the wheat from the chaff, even in our own lives. So more of that in a moment with my dear friend Alex. But first, do check out Feral by Aaron, E-R-Y-N, at Etsy.com. Aaron is spelled E-R-Y-N. Feral by Aaron. Alchemy sound tools, drums, rattles, smudge fans, museum quality handcrafted spirit tools, and now crone stones. No, not kidney stones. No, not that. Check out Feral by Aaron, E-R-Y-N. Much cooler than kidney stones. All right, we'll be back in a moment with Ales and Tales. So it is Memorial Day weekend. Perhaps you're listening to this on Memorial Day, so if you can, light a candle in remembrance of those who have passed on or those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Maybe 5 minutes out of your day will go a long way in the future. With that said, I made my own pilgrimage out to a cemetery. You asked me to, after all. It was in regards to what we call a strange stroll. And so off I went to Hidden Hill Cemetery in hand with only a digital recorder and a can of Rainier beer. And for 30 minutes, I was in the cemetery at night, strolling around, rolling camera, paying attention, looking, listening, and feeling. So you can catch that footage if you want at strangebrowradio.com. And hopefully we do some more of those in the future. I'm trying to do them once a month. And you can vote on where to send me. And that will be available probably at the website, definitely on Facebook. And my guest today, Alex, my friend, we're going to try to send him as well. And hopefully he can find some incredible place to go up in Quadra Island, Canada, and do the same thing. So we'll be sending Alex here shortly. So for this month's edition of Ales and Tales, we thought it was high time that we get into talking about debunking. And so that's a multi-layered issue that can really bum people out. But I think it's a healthy thing to put in your toolbox, because not everything's paranormal or supernatural. Some things can be explained just with a click on the keyboard or a phone call to a friend. And Alex, as you'll hear, is a bit of an expert when it comes to wildlife explanations taking root over the supernatural. So my conversation and another edition of Ales and Tales.
Hello, Tobe.
All right.
How's it going?
We're doing good, man. We're doing good. We just have company coming in from out of town, and they're going to arrive tomorrow around noon. So I've been out getting the trailer and turning it into a Squatchmobile. You know, it already had a few squatchy memorabilia things like air fresheners and casts, but now it's over the top. So we're having a couple squatchers out here. So
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think I saw you. I think I saw a bit of that on one of your
Insta
stories there.
Yeah, and you're doing the same. You came into possession of a fine fortified tenement on wheels.
Oh my, yes. Well, you know what? This needs a lot of work, and I knew that when I was going into it. But the more I dig into it, the more money signs keep popping up. Oh yeah, that's going to cost. But whatever. It's my trailer now, and it's my tiny home, and I am loving it. I love it. I love my trailer, even though it's a shit. But it will soon be a glorious, glorious space.
Okay, do you want to get into it? I mean, since we've already kind of talked about this off the record here, do you want to talk about your trailer on the record as far as what you think may be happening?
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay.
So yeah, I made this deal like almost a year ago, when I was really wanting to get out of the space I was in, and just get a truck and a travel trailer and hit the road. So I struck a deal with the local auto dealer. He actually approached me, and well, the deal was that okay, truck, travel trailer, trade for a driftwood VW Bug that we can put on the lot and invite more customers in. So I got that done. I finally got the VW done. It was a hell of a project, but I am so happy it's done, and that I was like, okay, it's time to get my trailer. Yeah. And yeah, I brought it over, and when I was vacuuming it out the first night, I think it was the first night I had. Well, I mean, the second night I had it. When I was vacuuming it out, I heard a man's voice like right behind me in the trailer. And mind you, I did have the vacuum going. It's very loud, but it was very distinct, like man's voice. So I clicked off the vacuum, stepped outside. There's nobody around. It's it's quite an open space here. There's no real neighbors within I don't know, like 400 feet. So I kind of okay, yeah, that happened. Mark that up. And the next morning, it had like this old couch unit in it, and some garbage in it. And so I started hauling that out in the morning, and I was feeling great. Like I was super positive, super up, super energetic. I got up feeling just it was a great day, and within I don't know 10 minutes of trying to move that stuff out of there, and it wasn't just me like wrestling with couches out like a small trailer door. Within 10 minutes, there was this heaviness that came in, this oppressive like heaviness in my head, and I got really angry really fast and started actually swearing words that I don't normally swear. And so I was like, okay, I gotta get this done, and like chucked it all out the door. And the whole day after that, that oppressive fog in my head, like I was just down, and I tried so hard to get out of it. I was like, okay, just get in the garden and maybe plant a few plants. I could barely do that. I was so exhausted, and like later on, I think it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, I'm still going through this, and I was like, okay, well, what the hell is this? Okay. Oh, I recognize these symptoms. Like when I've encountered discarnate entities before, I usually get blasted with this like oppressive, tired, heavy, like bag of hammers, like all over me, and it takes me a while to actually like realize it and get myself out of it. So as soon as I kind of realized it, it took me an hour to get out of it and get clear headed again. But okay, yeah, I thought that there might be some spirit in the trailer. some kind of entity, energy, whatever you want to call it. So I think it was the next morning I went in there to, I did, yeah, I was doing some video to send you of the trailer, and I just did a little interior tour. And for shits and giggles, I was like, okay, well, let's see if we can contact anything. If there's something in here, I clicked the video on my iPad. I'm pointing it towards the back of the trailer. I'm like, hello, hello, hello. Is there anybody in here? Is there anybody in here? Hello. And got what seemed like there was a response. This bang, which I immediately wrote off as the back door being open and maybe shutting in the wind. Like I say it on video, oh, no, it's just the door shutting in the wind. But I went outside and like tested the door, and it does not make that sound at all. And when it does shut, it shuts closed. It doesn't kind of wrap against the trailer. So I did some further like examining, and I have really tried to find the source of that sound, because it came directly from the back of the trailer. And the only thing that I could possibly find that made that sound was one of the cupboard doors in the bedroom area of the trailer, and it's the only one that doesn't have a latch. So I did some video, I tested it, and just slammed it a couple times, and to me it sounds incredibly similar. It may not be like 100%, but it sounds incredibly similar to, I would say, like maybe 90% similar. I tried to set my iPad up, like, you know, where I was standing in the trailer at the time to get the right acoustics and everything. And yeah, I did have another instance today, actually, or yesterday, sorry, and with that oppressive feel to it, and managed to get out of that pretty quickly just because I realized what it was. But yeah, so I may have a haunted trailer. I've been sleeping in it. The sleeps are good, but whenever I screw around with something in there and move something or like take something apart, that's when I get hit with that oppressive feeling. But I'm totally willing to like throw my all into like debunking this, because yeah, I don't really want a haunted trailer, so I'd rather it be something, you know, innocuous.
And well, maybe if you can get him to chip in on, you know, gas miles or propane,
Totally, yeah.
might be worth it. But
yeah, you got to do half the pad rent, okay?
That's
I don't
right,
know what
man.
you're gonna do. Maybe you can protect the property. But
yeah, well, I mean, it gets into the whole resto mod, you know, as far
it does. Yeah.
what's happening in a haunted house seems to maybe be happening in a haunted trailer by the way you're describing it.
Yeah. And I called the guy up. I was like, hey, so the trailer I got, I'm just wondering about the backstory. He's like, backstory? What do you mean? Like, who lived in it before? Because I think it's haunted. And he just laughed. He's like, oh my God, that's great. No, nobody died in it. There was a guy living in it. And he went back to the East Coast. I'm like, okay. But I got another trailer on the lot. If you want it, it's haunted. Somebody died in that one.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that gets us to the topic today, which is debunking. And you know, you sent me the video of the sound of the cupboard slamming, and what I heard sounded pretty darn similar. But it, you know, this stuff will drive you crazy if you let it. You really have to let go of the importance of it and just say, well, there's not much you can do about it. I mean, it's an event that happened. It happens all over the world. Is this one of the events, or is this just me looking down the rabbit hole for no reason? But
Yeah.
um, I mean, you described some really interesting things before your trailer, and of course, it gets into the fact maybe Alex has a ghost around him. Do you ever think of that? Like,
Ooh.
is there something maybe hanging around?
Huh. Hanging around. Well, I I've never heard that. Hey, you might have a ghost hanging around. Um, I have had stuff hang around before, that's for sure, and had to tell it to f off. Um, but as far as a spirit, a ghost, I don't. Maybe
You might.
that's a distinct possibility.
You could
Yes.
have a Canadian Klingon just
Yeah.
just gripping to the last.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is the sound of a Rainier getting cracked. I think it's time I celebrate the mountain in my backyard. So that's what I've got with me is a ice cold Rainier. I did buy a
Cheers for the
24
mountain.
pack from Costco. Actually has a nice size 24 pack for I think it was under $18,
What?
and so yeah.
So cheap down there.
Yeah.
I paid $4.26 for my one can of beer today.
Oof. My gosh. Is it? Well, they call that a sin tax down here.
The
They were.
syntax.
Yeah.
What do you
So
mean?
if you buy a pack of smokes, or if you buy hard alcohol, they attach.
Oh, I see. Like an SIN tax. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're a
Yeah.
sinner.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me see what I got here. Okay. So I reached out for this one and didn't realize that it didn't say what I thought it said until I got it home. So this is from Land and Sea Brewing Company in Comox, BC. It's a pretty new startup craft brewery, and they have their regular labels, but they leave a blank space for them to actually write in with a Sharpie what beer it is. So they do it all by hand. And
Wow.
when I was looking in the cooler, I was like, it was slightly turned. I was like, oh, Bigfoot blonde. Oh, okay, that's got to come for yeah. That's got to be an Ales and Tails beer. But it does not say Bigfoot blonde.
What'd you get?
It is very close. It says Beaufort blonde, and
Beaufort.
Beaufort is a mountain range here on Vancouver Island. So
Okay. Well, there's probably a
yeah.
Bigfoot on Beaufort.
Oh, I would think so. I would love to get to the foot of that. There we go. I would love to get to the foot of the mountain there again because I read some really interesting orb sightings, orb reports there, right at the foot of the Beauforts.
Right, hit the
So
foot. Well,
yeah.
maybe that can be one of your first strain strolls because
Ooh,
we gotta get we gotta send Alex
I
here
know,
too.
I know. That looks so much fun. It looks like so much fun. So
All right,
yeah.
well, let's talk a little bit about the strain stroll business. Let's get it out of the way. People voted, not very many people here, based on my inability to put some kind of poll up on Facebook. So I'm gonna have to find a better way than a QR code. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
folks, a QR code is a really simple tool. All you do is you stick your phone up to it and turn the camera on, and it basically recognizes a barcode, a square barcode, and sends you to a website. In this case, it was a polling site. But you brought up a good point that it's one step too many.
It's
First
one step too many.
they got
Yeah.
to go down and get their phone. They don't want to do it. They're maybe on their phone. How are they going to take a picture with their phone?
Yeah.
And it just gets into a clusterfuck. So we'll simplify the polling. And I think I've got a couple of places already picked out here. But for this one, people had the choice to send me to Sorceress Hollow, which was a wooded It's a preserve, it's a park from maybe less than 4 miles from where we live. But it's a huge preserve. And there's an area there called Sorcerer's Hollow. And I got the only place that I didn't even see the sign when we got to the area. And before I got to it, I was like, I'm getting kind of the spidey senses here, and I turned up and I see the name of it. It's like, oh, okay, gotcha. So
The place name thing.
the
Yeah.
place name, yeah. Check out. Speaking
Yeah.
of place names, check out Henry Franzoni's book Spirit of Siatko on place names. It was really one of the first books that got me going. But anyway, back to Strange Strolls. The other option, if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, we basically set up a choose your own adventure for myself and eventually Alex here. So in this case, you can choose your Tobe adventure, and you can decide where to send me at Dark 30. The other place that people had the option to send me was a place called Hidden Hill Cemetery. And at Hidden Hill Cemetery, you'd be able to send me to a place that I've only spoken about once, and it's called Starvation Heights. And I keep calling her Mary Hazard for some reason, but her name was Linda Hazard. And,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Something sounded wrong
yeah,
with that. I was very
right.
yeah.
So if you look up Mary Hazard, because I already shot the video, you won't find much about it. But if you type in Starvation Heights, the name Linda Hazard will come up, and there, as far as I can tell by the numbers, she might very well be the #1 serial killer. Maybe in the United States, certainly in Washington. I mean, she beats the hell out of the Green River Killer and Ted Bundy for certain.
Yeah.
Because she was, her claim to fame was she would have a cure-all for patients back in the turn of the century, early 1900s, and she looked every bit of the part as far as like the Wicked Witch. And you come up there, and she basically give you, corn soup or tomato soup, extremely watered down version of both of those things.
Oh, wasn't it asparagus soup? Wasn't it?
Asparagus soup, whatever
It was,
basically was, probably found in the dumpster or readily available to her. And then you'd be so delirious from her cure-all help that before you knew it, you'd be too weak to leave. And so there were people that, lots of people that died at the hands of her. And so there's a cemetery not too far, and it's not marked. It's definitely not marked, and it is up an old trail. So that's where I went. And then people could vote on what I could bring with me. I think the choices were, as far as gear or tech gear, was a recorder or a FLIR camera and maybe like dowsing rods or something like that. And then I said a beer. So people allowed me to take one Rainier.
I voted for the beer for sure.
Right. So I put a Rainier in my pocket and a tape recorder, and away I went. Now, let me hold on one second. There we go. In all honesty, I did go up there the first night. And the point is that people could pick what not only I was going to bring, but what I was going to do. So I was either going to sit there, look, listen, and feel, or I was going to go investigate. And with a DSLR camera or DLSR camera, I don't know if the S is before the L or the L is before the S. Anyway, Canon camera, you only have 30 minutes when you're on 4K mode to run video for whatever reason. You can restart it at 30 minutes, but these cameras won't let you go past 30 at 4K. So it was a 30-minute challenge. And Dark 30 went up there, and I brought an extra light with me. And what I was planning on doing was setting up an extra light, and maybe it'd look a little bit better to light up the woods and the headstones with an extra production light. So as I'm walking around, getting to know my camera, getting to know the area, the light goes out at about 14 minutes. Now, it's just the battery's fully charged, but I'd never used it except for one other time. and I was outside. So as soon as it switched off, I was like, okay, well, it's not going to ruin, my strange stroll.
Mm.
But then it really it was a distracting moment. Like, okay, is there a spirit here? Are we dealing with a battery drain? And then
Yeah.
it kept happening. Like it was really shutting down after that. So the battery was toast. And I went back home and I checked out everything, and it's supposed to go for 42 minutes on a full charge, and it only went for 14. So I ran a test and fully charged it, 3 times, and everything worked fine at home. It didn't work so good at Hidden Hill Cemetery, but then I recovered some possible EVPs. Now, I play these in the Strange Stroll, and you can watch this video, which, granted, it's my first nighttime shot out doing one of these, so it's a little bit wonky as far as the footage with autofocus, but we'll get a hold of that in the future for another Strange Stroll. But I play the EVPs from this place, and now, unfortunately, you got to wear earbuds, I think, to even really hear this at all. But
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
yeah, there's something in there. I mean, it sounds childlike to me, and it was before I even got into the cemetery. It was actually in the path headed up the dirt little trail. Now, this is like super creepy graveyard, right in the middle of the woods, and a lot of these graves are unmarked. All they have is a piece of rebar with an orange strip of neon paint on the, so you don't impale yourself walking around.
I think that's the creepiest thing I noticed about that whole thing was just these rods sticking out of the ground that denote a body,
Well, and so as you're walking in, you walk over this makeshift little tiny footbridge that goes over a creek. Now, people that don't know about this place, that happen upon it, walk over this bridge, and they may not know the history, but when you build a cemetery on top of a hill and it starts eroding on the port side and starboard side, bodies start rolling. And that's what happened, is that, the fishermen down in the slough started to find jawbones and, all sorts of little bits of, clothing and whatnot. And so historians or whoever, kind of takes care of this park, it's actually kind of sad because there's not really any history to it. But so I open up the video on this footbridge where the bodies were known to come down the creek into the slough here in the Olympic Peninsula. But anyway, you can check that out at strangebrowradio.com. B-R-A-U is how you spell brow, strangebrowradio.com. And we'll do another one coming up the next month here. Now, I'd love to do more of these, but I don't really feel like I'm ready for prime time to start showing or waste anybody's time with my filming ability. But the sound was good. And
I thought the filming was great. I really did.
Did you? Oh, you're too kind.
Yeah, no, it had that. I think it added to the creepy vibe. So
okay,
but
fair enough.
Very important that it was like uncut. I mean,
what added to the creepy vibe was my growling stomach, which yeah. It was definitely a 30-minute challenge. Let me put it that way. Yeah, I did punish some porcelain that evening. And that's what happens when you shop at Costco for their stroganoff. So that did happen. But so you can check that out, and it's a lot of fun. And the next one is going to be a haunted house. It's an abandoned two-story. Yeah, two-story abandoned Victorian-style house. Nothing but rot and trees coming through the windows. It's everything you'd want. And then the other place, quite possibly, will be an abandoned fort from the turn of the century. And
well, I know which one I'm voting for already.
Yeah, I think I know
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, so you got some locations maybe you're looking at too, Alex?
I do. Yeah, the HBI, the Harriet Bay Inn. It has a quite a good history of hauntings. Um, and I scouted out another couple places. There used to be an old jail, like the really old jail here on Quadra, which is now an empty lot. So I think that would be cool for a night sit, night explore. Yeah, there was a few other places, but those two, I think it there's a good dichotomy there. You know, it's like the inside and the outside. So I think I might stick with those.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's not just a haunt either that we're looking to do. It's like let's talk about this fort for example. Like, yeah, it's spooky. Yeah, it's an abandoned, World War II, World War I situation. Probably World War II more like it since it's right off the spit. But there's rumors about there being some kind of weird cult or underground
Ooh,
tunnel situation going on. For example, one of the rumors is that one of the founders of Walmart lives uh, around that area in a tiny little house, like an unsuspecting billionaire lives there in this area where other unsuspected billionaires all live around this fort. And one of the rumors is that they all kind of congregate in this little hidden society, and they utilize the fort and these old access tunnels to get around. So there's other things going
that's a good rumor. I like
on.
totally.
Yeah, yeah, you never know, but
Yeah,
one can speculate. So, I want to do haunted stuff all the time? No, not really. I'd love
yeah.
to, just go bigfooting all the time, but um, walking through a forest at night, I don't know if it's going to be as exciting of footage as going inside a building. There's
Yeah,
something to
yeah,
the risk of risking your biscuit going inside an abandoned building that
yeah.
I think is more alluring. And there's folks that go into abandoned houses and have whole channels dedicated to finding abandoned homes. The problem with that is that, well, there's a lot of problems with it. First of all, you're going inside an abandoned home and you don't know it till you get in there what the
Yeah,
hell you're going to wander into. I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of people that live inside shitty houses that aren't abandoned, but they may look it. You may think they are, but God help you if you walk in there. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. So I
yeah.
don't know how
I
that.
can imagine. I can imagine some angry families of raccoons up here too, in some of the abandoned places. I stuck my nose in, but yeah, I don't really want to piss off raccoons.
Don't do it. Don't
Yeah.
piss off raccoons. It's a well-known thing. Uh, so let's talk a little bit about debunking. That's the theme of this show, and I think we both have a lot to say about it.
Hmm. Yeah.
It kind of has a bad name because it falls under the same file as being a skeptic. And in my
Yeah.
opinion, it's not the same. Debunking is something. Well, maybe debunking leads to being a skeptic, and maybe skeptic leads to debunking. But debunking is kind of a process before you become skeptical. And when you're dealing with guests that I've spoken to and you've spoken to, you have to be a little bit skeptical along the way, but you also are kind of making a mental Rolodex of debunking little elements of a story that come forth and saying, well, it could be this, it could be that.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
let on because, people know their own story way better than I do. And who am I to say? However, when things happen in your own life, you have to be open to the eye of debunking things. So let's talk about some of these things that we've debunked. And, well, what do you have to say about what I just said?
It's kind of part and parcel. When you live a paranormal life, when you're an experiencer, an abductee, whatever, when the paranormal has saturated your life in one way or another, you have to have that in your toolbox, is debunking, because otherwise you could just fly off in any direction and say everything's related to the paranormal. And I've had numerous experiences where that's my absolute first go to is debunk this, Alex, because that's absolutely first important step. And then if you don't find any rational explanation for it, then you can explore it further in terms of the paranormal, in the lens of the paranormal.
Right. I think it's a safe thing to say, and it's an uncomfortable spot for people that live a paranormal life because you get so used to the strange that when it's delivered to you, it's just like, well, this all adds up. This is part of this strange interaction that I'm dealing with. However, I'll just point out a couple of, well, at least one thing that happened to us out here at the property. We started to, and this is where you come in with your debunking. Um, we were finding mushrooms on tree branches, and I thought it was strange. Erin thought it was strange. She doesn't remember seeing mushrooms sitting on tree branches, but then you brought up a good point and debunked it for us. So, why are mushrooms on tree branches, Alex?
Mushrooms are on tree branches because squirrels. And I was out at the Campbell Lakes for a hike there, and I noticed this russula mushroom just sitting upside down in the crook of a tree branch. It was about 6 feet up. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I started noticing more and more and more. And some of them were like 20 feet up in the tree. I'm like, so I'm going, okay, what is this? What are we looking at here? Is this a mushroom hunter who's like putting signs up saying stay out of my territory, other mushroom hunters, or is this Bigfoot? Because I also went to like Bigfoot, and it took me about half an hour of searching on the internet. When I got back to the parking lot, I'm like, okay, I got to know what the heck this is, because I probably found about 20 of them in various levels, and some trees actually had maybe like 5 or 6 in the same tree, all on different branches, and they're all just like sitting upside down on their caps, laid on a branch. And at first glance, it totally looks weird. It totally looks like something that you would just like immediately put in the category of paranormal. But so I typed in like mushrooms on branches and Sasquatch or Bigfoot, and I found a lot of other people were claiming that they were posting pictures. Oh, look, this is a gift from the Sasquatch. I was walking along this trail yesterday, and here it is today. Like they've given me another gift of the mushroom. I'm like, okay, well, no, this isn't doing it for me. I got to go further on this. And I can't remember how I ended up, but going to it. But it turns out that squirrels make mushroom jerky. They frickin' love it. So what they do is they grab the mushrooms and hike them up the tree and dry them out on a tree branch and store them away for later. And totally documented. It's a thing, and I was really glad. I was like, okay, I figured it out. I debunked those other things that I was thinking about, Bigfoot or wayward mushroom hunters, like
Right.
claiming their territory.
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
gets into a tricky area of telling others that it's not what they think it is, or you have an answer or a solution or opinion about it. So I didn't. I hope I didn't come off as being argumentative when you suggested that. I was quite
No,
interested
you
in it.
didn't.
But there are people that do get argumentative when you
Oh yeah.
suggest that there is
Oh yeah.
another solution. So let's talk about that for a minute. How do you deal with that?
That is a hard one to deal with. It really is, especially on an online format because that's the way it usually is. I've been on a couple of Facebook groups before, Sasquatch Facebook groups. I don't really interact with them anymore because there's just so much pareidolia and so much like, oh my God, this is this thing. Look at this. I'm like, no, clearly it's not. Clearly it's this. Like you can see, like look at that. And people got really, really offended and charged up and just like all in arms when I just suggested, actually, you know what? That's not orbs. That's actually a road and it's tail lights. So yeah, there's probably a really good probability that that's actually a car there because there's two red lights spaced apart like a car in a, you know.
The thing is that I mean, in all actuality, you're doing them a favor because
Yeah,
you're building a case of BS and the real McCoy. And there's
yeah,
always going to be some BS, and you're going to be wrong about some stuff along the way here. And it's showing people just like, okay, I can discern BS from the real McCoy. I've done it
yeah,
before. Here's a mistake. I'm sorry I perpetrated it for a couple of days. For example, I posted a picture of what looked like a portal opening up in the forest, and I'd seen other people that had had this amazing spiral effect in their photographs in places like, Sasquatch or UFO hotspots, or in, parts of, oh gosh, when we went down to Sedona. You see these pictures of what looks like the environment kind of swirling down the barrel of a gun, or a rings of a hurricane or something. So oh, there's a crazy sound. It sounds like you're in a portal. Um,
oh, I
so
got
I
trucks. I'm right by the road now, so yeah.
Yeah, so I take a picture, and I take about 10 pictures in a hotspot in the Al Moon Lab area after casting, a 17-inch footprint and finding these weird white sticks leaning up the tree. And we can't duplicate this picture. You tried to duplicate it. I
I
tried to
did.
duplicate it,
Yeah,
but I didn't. In all honesty, and I'll be completely honest here, I thought it was so anomalous, so incredible that I didn't even go on the internet to see if anybody else had debunked this already. Now that kind of tells you about
okay.
an confirmation bias, and
Yeah,
this is something that we have to be honest about. I mean, if your goal is to find out the truth of the matter, then you have to find out the truth about confirmation bias, because we all have it. We're trying to constantly build a narrative to suit a story, and that one suited really well because it's a highly supernatural paranormal area. So I thought, well, here it is. But long story short is it was duplicated. I duplicated it like a week ago. I simply flicked my wrist incredibly hard to the right and fired the shutter on my iPhone XS. It's like an iPhone 10, I think. And I was able to duplicate it at least half the time with the shutter.
yeah.
And sent you the picture. You think it's debunked like I do? I think it is.
I think it is. I think it is. I wouldn't say like 100%, because you're in that area there, and you were actually, you were taking a picture of a stick structure, right? That had not been there before.
Right.
So I do allow like a small percentage for possibility with that, because the pictures that you sent me,
But Alex,
the
let me argue that point with you. Why allow
okay,
a
yeah, go
why
for it.
well, why even allow a percentage, because it almost allows room for error, since it's so debunked, in my opinion, that you can do it even if I only did it once, but I was able to accomplish it like on 7 pictures.
Right, but I did not see the exact, like, you know how the center was off to the left in the original picture?
I was
All of
able
your all of your other ones, the center was like in the frame of the picture. So that's why unless you can
right.
duplicate it with the center of the swirl on your iPhone
Hmm.
with your flick of your wrist with the center outside the frame, then okay, then I can allow for that little percentage of possibility to disappear. But
I love
so
the
so get
relationship
to
that
it,
we're having right now, is because you're the ultimate debunker, and here I'm trying to talk you into debunking something. So it's quite the change of events. But in regards to photos in particular, this is the biggest one because we're dealing with new technology that updates every month. You
Yeah,
think when you get an update on your Android device or your phone, everybody's shooting photos with their phone. When you get those updates, you don't know what you're installing or what the new program is doing to your video or photos. So you think you know your phone one month, you don't know it the next.
yeah. All of a sudden, there's these new little things. What is it?
Yeah.
I've never seen this. What the heck is this?
I mean, photo debunking is something that a lot of people have a problem with. I mean, I know there's been at least, well, there's probably a lot more than I can even remember. Probably so many over the last 15 years that I forgot most of them, but I can definitely think of 2 individuals that did not like my opinion over a photograph that came my way. And
Yeah,
I know how this feels. I'm not coming at anybody with both barrels loaded saying, okay, this is bullshit and you're a hoaxer, and it's not like that at all. It's just like, hey, I found a solution for this. I was able to debunk it, and here's the cool thing about
yeah.
it. We're not
And
looking at the
let's put
paranormal.
it to rest. Let's put it to rest because it doesn't need to keep circulating
Right.
in the groups of the paranormal as like, oh my God, look at this, Sasquatch paw or Sasquatch paw that this dog man was eating or whatever. Like, you remember that one? You sent
No.
me the picture of
Oh
that
yeah,
of
yeah.
that.
Oh, the
Yeah,
beaver paw.
the beaver paw. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
this is a beaver paw. I had it debunked in like 5 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
check it out. Yeah,
Well, the thing is, people could go online and do the hard work, but it's hard work. I mean, it's the equivalent of listening to, you know, 1,200 hours worth of audio through your ear instead of going on Spectrogram and looking for it, where you can bypass all the BS and see the signature. If you hop on Google and typing in things like Snopes, for example, and
yeah.
hoaxed Bigfoot hands, maybe the beaver paw would have popped right in. But people don't want those kind of answers.
No, they don't. That's why I'm saying it's circulating. Like that beaver paw. What was that? Like 3 months ago that you sent that to me,
Yeah, it's still
and I saw
circulating.
I saw it pop
Yeah,
up the other day, and
yeah.
there's like 300 comments on this Sasquatch group post. I'm like, come on.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, and even if you show them a screen grab of a beaver, building a dam with that same paw, they'd be like,
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
not good enough. You're a
yeah,
part of the conspiracy. So
yeah.
photo debunking and video debunking. Can you think of any other examples besides that we can put to bed in this show?
Oh well, it's so hard to debunk like anecdotal accounts, right? Um, it's near impossible unless you do like the detective work. But I, my accounts are pretty much like all that anecdotal. Like I really don't have any physical hard evidence for these. I have a few scars, you know, on my body from that crazy experience back in 2005. But really, someone could look at those. Oh yeah, you probably got those earlier or whatever. But I didn't take any photos. Like I don't have any audio. all I have is my stories. So, but I am the one to debunk those. So, and I had an incredibly hard time with that. I tried as much as I could, and I I can't. So,
Well, what have you debunked of your own accord?
of my own accord. Oh, just little things. Those little things that immediately seem paranormal, and they want so badly to just fall into that little weird experience paranormal box. Um, and if I didn't have the debunking mindset, I'd just throw them in there and like, oh yeah, that was that. Remember when that, that there was that big burst of like thing that came through the trees, and I was like, no, you got to look at this, Alex. Get your spectacles on, get your debunking spectacles on. Okay, yeah, all right, that was a bird going through the trees. It wasn't a ghost like popping out of the trees and moving in the leaves and branches. That was a bird. You just didn't happen to see the bird. You focused in on the leaves and the trees, and the bird's long gone. So, I mean, that's just an example of the little things that I notice. Yeah, and it's all the little things. I mean, the big things in my life,
You
it's
can't.
so hard. I
You
can't. I
can't.
just can't. I just can't. I tried so hard in Hope too, with all of those crazy ass noises out there when Colin got chased, and like I really had my spectacles there on for that entire experience, but I really can't debunk any of it. Yeah, even when I went back, I tried looking for further evidence of like, okay, well, let's dissect the whole experience here and try to pull it apart and see if we can even debunk just one little bit. Because yeah,
Well, I
but
feel like
I just can't.
you deal with this better than most. I mean, confirmation bias is something I'm always pushing, off.
Yeah,
I'm trying so hard. I mean, I'm way more skeptical than a lot of people, but
yeah,
the fact is that I'm not 100% skeptical, and
yeah.
I have confirmation bias, and I'm so aware of it. It's like it's one of those. It feels like my sinful nature kicking in. You know what I mean? It just feels like, oh my gosh, no wonder I'm getting taxed on beer and cigarettes here. I've got this. I've got, but no, it's as far as like photo debunking, there's so many things we could talk about. One of the things that people send in constantly are pictures of what they think are spirit entities or orbs
Orbs.
or
Yeah.
UFOs. And within the video, and this can happen in video too, not just photographs, is lens flare.
Yeah.
And the way lens flare works, because I had to learn this along the way, and so I think this is a helpful thing for people that are wanting to be better skeptics or debunkers, or get rid of as much confirmation bias, or we'll call it CB, as possible. Get rid of your CB,
Yeah.
and you take a pill for it, I think. But within the frame of a photo or video, you can oftentimes see that there is a light source, generally at the top right, middle, or top left. And that light source is aiming down at usually a white, red, or aqua colored glare or ball. And it will wander behind the subject. Now, I don't know how that happens, but I've videotaped the sun going down in Oregon and watched a lens flare ball wander as the sun was going down below the mountain, and the ball wandered behind a Doug fir tree, and it
Hmm.
came out the other side, and it was perfectly timed, a slow motion shot, so I could really appreciate it. And that was my big aha moment at how tricky all this can be, because light is very tricky, and
Hmm.
your phones are just your phones. You're not looking at the real image of the raw data. You don't have you have something interpreting an image through processors, and it's trying to duplicate what the lens is seeing. So lens flares. That's my
Yeah,
spiel.
that's your spiel, right? Well, okay. So yes, lens flares. I've seen those. I've seen countless pictures of UFOs. That, obvious lens flare. Now, do we have more of an issue nowadays with these complicated cameras, like phones? Because everybody's got their phone on them. Is is the digital camera with all of these, you know, um, electronic whiz gig doodads installed in it? Are they more of a problem than say an analog, old school camera?
Definitely more expensive.
Yeah.
I think they are because they're trying to filter out the sounds that we're trying to filter in. And
Right.
we're trying to layer cake evidence here by recording audio of video, which is recorded by audio out of your camera and video. And then maybe, you can Franzoni your way in and find, the paranormal existing in one of these layers of the cake. But I think you're right. I agree with that. I've heard enough from other people saying, go grab that 20-year-old tape recorder or
Yeah.
camera. I
Yeah.
mean, I think there's an Olympus tape recorder that's over $1,000 on eBay, and it's literally like a $30 Olympus dictaphone that you could have bought at Walmart, 15 years ago. And whatever is going on with that particular recorder, um, they're having a lot of success with recording EVPs, so people are willing to pay it. I think if you watch most of these ghost shows, you'll be able to spot this. I know Huff Paranormal on YouTube, he swears by this old Olympus, and
Yeah.
often he'll give them away as a prize to people on his Patreon channel. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the older
Well,
stuff.
yeah, I would love to see like a renaissance return to analog technology in terms of gathering evidence. It would be, I mean, some of the best evidence that I've seen that I can't debunk, and numerous other people have tried, has been captured on analog.
Well, yeah, I mean, when they're sweeping through with a ghost box on an FM band, and it's basically that's old technology. I mean, all they're doing
Hmm.
is changing the channel really quick to try to pick up something utilizing the voice box of the recorder. But yeah, it's not really that one you see all the time, and it's incredibly annoying. I can't sit and
Yeah,
listen to that
yeah.
for hours.
No, I couldn't do that either. No, no. I'll just set myself up as my own ghost
Mm.
box and
Right. Now,
uh,
one of the
see
debunkings
what comes through.
that happened here um, recently was well, it wasn't a debunking. It was just one of the things. Well, it has me frustrated. Let me just put it that way. I haven't debunked it, but I talked to you a little bit about it. Um, there's an area inside the living room where if I get up at a certain time of the morning and sit and
Oh
have a
yeah,
cup of
okay,
coffee, I
yeah.
will hear 3 taps about 12 inches behind my head on the glass window. And they'll be very matter of fact, deliberate taps on the window. Bing, bing, bing. This one today was actually relatively slow, more like a bing, bing, bing. And it sounds like a nail bed tapping on a window, the window right behind me. However, even though I've had some synchronicity when I went outside and I found a tiny little bird bone sitting on top of a pillow right where I heard the sound, which was pretty bizarre, there is a squirrel that we have we have trained squirrels around here, but they have been known to come up to the bathroom window and kind of look through the window asking for peanuts, right? Like it's time
Oh,
to
okay.
come feed us. But they've never tapped on the window. Certainly, they don't come up front because all the woods are in the back and all the peanuts are in the back. And it's not a bird strike, but because we have squirrels around that do come up to the window, I'm ready to debunk this one. However, I have my suspicions, and this is where confirmation bias is kind of creeping in
Hmm.
about what could possibly be happening. But that's only because of the fact that when I came outside and found that bird bone sitting on the pillow where the tapping was, I was like, okay, well,
It
what
it
else would this
seemed
be?
it seemed so much like a human kind of tap, like tap tap tap,
Yeah, it
to
did.
like,
But very,
hey,
very
look over
soft.
here
Yeah.
outside. Ooh, what's this? A bird bone on a pillow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, and that's when it helps to reach out to people that know more about wildlife. I mean, I didn't know anything about this mushroom jerky stuff. And
Yeah, goddamn squirrels on mushrooms. I mean, you know, they're
that's
doing all sorts of stuff that that can be considered paranormal.
that's
Squirrels
right.
on mushrooms. Yeah.
Maybe they'll start to evolve quicker if they take the right psychedelics. We'll see squirrels out
Oh,
delivering mail, and they'll be
yeah, totally.
wearing COVID mask and running to the
Or in
store.
office. Oh, we should have squirrels in office.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there you go. Yeah, it'd probably be better.
Now, I don't know who told me about owls making monkey sounds, but the other day I was, it might have actually been when I was doing my first roundup at Hidden Hill
Yeah,
Cemetery.
yeah, because you can hear, well, you can hear them in your second one, but yeah,
Yeah.
the
And the,
barred owls.
and barred owls, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? No, actually, now that I'm getting back to this, I think, well, no, 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 I'm losing track. This was a recent audio clip, and I posted it up on my Facebook site under my private name, Tobe Johnson, and you can find it there. But barred owls make incredible monkey sounds. You've heard
And
this
other
too?
sorts of sounds. Oh my God, they are one of like the I don't craziest audio out of any like owl. Um, I have had some like really awesome experiences with barred owls. Um, Most notably, this one where I was just out on my porch drinking some wine with my then wife, and you hear them going, woo, woo, and then just like 30 or 40 of them around us just erupt in all sorts of like wild noises. But yeah, I think yeah, the it, the barred owl can is very adept at doing many vocalizations, whereas you hear a great horned owl, they have kind
Mm-hmm.
of like one or two kind of hoots, but the barred owl is definitely up on that scale there. So I totally can see them doing like monkey noises.
Yeah, and we have a stellar jay back here that has trained himself to do a hawk cry. And
Mm.
so that's his way of, I don't know, pushing himself into areas that he probably couldn't normally get into. But when he does this really distinctive hawk cry through the woods, and then he comes in and, steals all the peanuts or whatever's going on. I mean,
Oh,
these,
he's probably trying to frighten the damn squirrels, eh?
oh, I think so. I
Yeah.
mean, he's doing a great job. It's a pretty, yeah, very close to the real McCoy.
Yeah.
Hmm. But it helps to reach out to people that know more than you,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to people that are out there looking for Sasquatch or trying to have interaction. You need to reach out more so and look on Google and listen to sounds. I mean, there's databases. I don't know of any offhand. I know that there's whole databases to bird sounds. There's got to
Oh
be
yeah. Oh,
huge
definitely.
databases. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
could be out there debunking this yourself, but
Yeah.
that confirmation bias is a real tricky little demon.
Well, yeah, that's going back to our experiences in Hope when Colin was struck by the vibratory sound, the woof, woof, woof. All right, that's one of my debunking explorations on that one was, okay, well, was it a bird? Like what kind of bird does that? So I went looking at grouse, like the blue spruce grouse, and I went in on those bird databases. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, no, it's no, it's not that, it's not that. But that's, yeah, I had to go that route just to just to I don't know, just to debunk it, right?
No, yeah, no. I mean, there's some crazy bird sounds. Grouse
Oh, hell
is
yeah,
one of them. A little tiny field grouse can sound super big, and you can
yeah,
feel it as much as you can hear it.
yeah.
Yeah. And another crazy one is a nighthawk when it
Oh,
dives
I love it.
bombs for bugs. That
Yeah,
one will scare the hell out of you if you don't know what it is.
yeah,
It's I wish I had all these sounds queued up, but
yeah.
anyone want to hear a crazy sound? Listen to a
Nighthawk
nighthawk.
kind of sounds like or some, yeah, really neat, and they're all flying above, and yeah,
Yeah, it
really
sounds
cool.
it almost sounds mechanical.
Yeah, it does. It's
Yeah,
got that kind of vibratory, like mechanical sound to it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Um, yeah, there
But
was.
they're I mean, part of Sasquatch suspected or whatever Sasquatch interactions is this like mega owl sound, you know, that people report, and it yeah, it's like, well, it sounded like an owl, but owls don't have lungs that big, because this sound was like freaking loud. So I would love to hear one of those. I mean,
And I've never heard the 800-pound owl.
yeah,
Never. I mean, if I did, I didn't know it at the time, and I just thought it was.
just thought
Uh,
it was an owl.
I
Yeah,
just thought it was an owl, but we took a camera crew out with us in Oregon, and it was a young group from the University of Oregon, and I don't know if they're just doing a student project or what, but they were all gung ho about going uh, out in a Sasquatch ridden area, and so we get them in a field, and we're all parked our jeeps with the headlights pointing in on us, and they start rolling camera, and so we're just kind of introducing them to the subject matter, and the sun goes down, and about four owls came into the circle on the edge of the tree line, and they kind of placed themselves at different points in the tree line. Now,
yeah,
I don't know if they were owls or not, but they were so unnerved by the monkey part that was happening with the barred owl, and
yeah.
it echoed really good. And one of the guys got so scared he left, and I mean, everyone had to leave at that point because he was like the sound guy or whatever. But yeah, he
Oh,
couldn't
wow.
take it. Yeah, it was just too much. Being in the woods at night is not an adrenaline rush that everybody wants.
Well, no, not everybody can take that. I love being in the woods at night, and it's definitely a sound amplifying environment when you're in the woods at night, because the ambient noise is down, and it's really anything that's out there is really focused. So a little night bird wandering through the brush can sound like a coyote sized creature.
Yeah, yeah. One of the funnier debunks that we got out of the Al Moon lab was one of the cast of characters I mentioned is a farmer that lives up on a hill by the name of Wormy.
Yeah,
And
wormy.
Wormy kept some odd hours. So we were doing a lot of recording, and we had to, once in a while, we had to figure out where Wormy was at in relationship to our audio equipment. But Wormy played the trumpet especially after he had
Ah, okay.
especially after a couple beers.
Yeah.
He'd be out there bugling, and we
I
thought,
love it. The trumpet playing worm farmer. Oh, oh my God. You got some characters down
oh,
here.
we did, man.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things that we recorded was what we thought was a Sasquatch farting, and it
Yeah.
was actually Wormy cleaning out his the spit part of his trumpet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one I figured out on my own. But at first, like, oh my gosh, I think it's a Sasquatch fart. But
Well, that would have been very exciting because it's probably the first audio of a Sasquatch fart ever.
that's a good question. Do Sasquatches fart? I don't know. Someone else find
I
out.
don't know. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Google that shit, everybody.
Google it.
Yeah.
So we went down the lens flare road. What about audio equipment? Audio. Have you ever debunked audio?
I have not. I can't say I have. I'm just starting to get into audio. In terms of my own experiences, there's only one audio, actually a couple, but the one that comes to mind for me as a personal debunk, which I failed to debunk, was when I was on Strange Familiars, me and Colin, and we all left for a break. We all left our respective computers to go to the washroom, have a break. Tim went and got a drink, and this I later listening to it later, and this was on our end. It didn't show up on Tim's recording, but this was on our end because Colin was like had a cell phone sitting by my iPad, which we were Skyping, and clear as day, something says Alex right after I was telling this intense part of the story where I was said Alex like multiple times, and I I still can't debunk this, but it definitely says Alex, and I don't know why or who said it.
Hmm.
I wish I could debunk it. I really wish I could, but there's just I just don't have the information to.
Well, let's dig into that comment. Why do you wish you could?
Uh, why do I wish I could?
I mean, I've said that before too. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I wish I could. I wish I could find. Is it the hunger to find the answer, or is it to disprove?
No, it's you know what it is. It's when you have a large category of experiences, um, like you really need to pare it down, and that's why debunking is important, especially in an extended experiencer's life, is you really need to like cut things out that aren't that don't that aren't paranormal, that don't fall into that category, and that's what I was trying to do with that one, was cut that out. So oh yeah, no, that was just an audio anomaly. It was something to do with the cell phone and Skype, and it did like an echo or something like that, but it doesn't even sound like I was saying my name, Alex, and it does not sound like me. It sounds like someone completely different. It doesn't sound like any of us. So I couldn't do that. But yeah, I think it's very important, especially for an extended experiencer, to basically cut the wheat from the chaff
Hmm.
and get down to those hard nuggets, those little kernels that are the important ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're strengthening your own sanity by doing that, by doing the hard work of separating the wheat from the chaff and finding what BS and finding out what is not BS. You're able to mitigate the paranormal in a way that you can manage it. If you throw
Yeah.
everything into the supernatural bin and say, here it goes again, here it goes again, you're going to go nuts. This is going to not
Yeah.
be a good turn of events for you, because not everything is supernatural. It's just,
Yeah.
it's not. It doesn't work that way.
It's not. And you know what? I think the others, or whoever you're dealing with in the paranormal, be it the Greys or the Sasquatch, or I think there's an appreciation for that too, like from the other side.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's just my feeling, anyway.
Now, getting to your name being mentioned, we tried to debunk a situation that happened for the I want to call it Primal People Convention that we did, but that's not the name for the convention. It was the recent webinar, the 2-day Sasquatch webinar that we did, and
Right.
it'll be available relatively soon, I think, online for people that weren't able to go to it. And I think there's going to be another version of it in October. But the one that we just did was a two-day evolution. And I was talking about the Al Moon Lab for 2 days. And Daryl name was mentioned. Now, I mentioned his name, obviously, in relationship to the whole case. But on the second day, it was mentioned even more. And there came a point in the webinar where all of a sudden, now just imagine, like everybody's doing webinars now, you have this Brady Bunch view on your screen of all the panel speakers, all basically doing a debriefing at the end of this 2-day evolution. And while one of the panel speakers was speaking, Daryl's face shows up on the screen. And it's just this still picture of a photo of him from the nose looking up, as though his phone is sitting in his hand or on the kitchen counter. And it's just this image of Daryl. And so I comment privately to one of the speakers and a couple other people, trying not to interrupt the flow of a conference. It's like, does anybody else see what I see here on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, who is that? And I said, I know who that is, but how is this happening?
How is this happening? What's going on?
To be invited into a private webinar, this to run a Zoom webinar is fairly lengthy process as far as getting into it. You can't just... Now, there was some shenanigans going on with Zoom, though, during that time. They had a huge security breach, and people were basically bombing into Zoom meetings for the fun of it, and, it was a whole thing. It was kind of a scandal. So, but Daryl didn't have a code to this Zoom meeting.
To that particular webinar. No, he didn't.
No. And out of the billions of people on the planet, the one guy that gets Zoom. So I contact Daryl. I'm like, dude, did you get a code to come in here? I was actually going to, have you on anyway and talk more about the case. And he goes, what are you talking about? He had just gotten back from like Costco and had both of his grandkids in his arm. And I was like, there's an image of you on this, webinar we're doing right now. How did this happen? He had no idea.
Yeah.
And then as quickly as it came, and I didn't see this part, I just saw his image disappear. But according to Mitchell Townsend, who was one of the panel speakers, he said that his picture left the screen in a prismatic waterfall.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What?
He said it melted off the screen like a prism of pixels down.
Whoa.
Like a little ribbon effect or a waterfall of pixels off the screen. And I recorded his expression. This whole thing has been recorded, actually.
Yeah.
But his eyeballs as he's watching this picture of
you can
Daryl.
See that? Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Can you earmark the timestamp for that?
Okay. No. Now this only happened on Mitchell's screen, so he was in a different location watching on his monitor. I was in charge of the control booth recording the whole thing. I don't think it happened on my screen. I think that only happened on his. Now, was that? I'll do a little debunking on maybe what that
Oh no, I,
was.
I just I just want to see his reaction. Like
Oh
if
yeah, no, his
if
reaction
he's
is
on the
good.
panel there, that's what I want to
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit of debunking, though, is maybe what was happening is that Mitchell was having connectivity issues, and it was a computer lag that looked like a prismatic waterfall. And in actuality, it was a Wi Fi issue on his end because he was struggling
Possibly.
a little bit. So that could have been what it is, but still, his expression was priceless. And I don't think there is a way to debunk this. Now, I'm open to
Now,
solutions.
was it just a picture of Daryl that came up, or was there his name there too?
No, that's the other thing too, is that there was it utilized the name of another speaker,
Okay.
and so it had another speaker's name, I believe, attached to his picture, which was just a screen grab. And what else am I forgetting? It was the same size as everybody's picture. It was though he
Yeah.
was just a panel speaker all of a
Yeah.
sudden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Daryl's had these kind of interactions with his phone before too, like
Well, that I
weird,
know of,
anomalous
right?
stuff. Yeah.
At least three other times that I know of. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I don't know, but I'm open to suggestions. If you can debunk that, get a hold of me at strangebrowradio@gmail.com. I'd love to know how something like that happened. But that was a pretty interesting one, and kind of similar to your name being mentioned by
Yeah.
it sounds like by something paranormal. Um,
Something paranormal. Yeah.
or
I
you
haven't
have your,
debunked it yet.
I mean, maybe you have your phone tapped.
Uh,
Is that possible?
it actually might be possible.
Someone keep an eye on you, especially if you say code words, about
Well,
certain things that
I
have happened in the past,
I know certain beings keep an eye on me from time to time,
and
and
certain be.
that's when I've tried to debunk was the
Uh,
black-eyed person. That was a hard one, but
oh,
yeah, I did not.
remind people about this story.
Oh well, it's okay. Well, I guess that would be yeah. Back to episode 39, Strange Brow Radio, where I go into my whole contact experience with what I perceive to be the Greys, and at one of the points, way after 2005, I think it was 2010. No, 2000. No, it was further than that. It was 2016, I think. Yeah, I'm driving with my sister and her two boys, and we're going around a bend. We had just had the second impossible fly experience where we were fossil hunting, and this absolutely massive fly landed right behind me, and it was 2 inches long, like the one I saw in my experiences. But I didn't recognize it as such until until I turned the corner while dropping them off to our mom's house. And while I'm turning the corner, I drive by really slow past this one vehicle. And in the vehicle is just a normal looking dude. He's staring right at me, absolutely locking eyes the entire time I'm driving by at like maybe 5 kilometers an hour, 10 max. And I'm locked eyes with him. I'm locked eyes with him as well, because the thing that I notice primarily, I'm taking in a lot of detail here, but like the thing I notice primarily is his eyes are completely black, like completely black. And I pass the vehicle. I'm gripping the steering wheel tight. I get this sense of dread. I start like, whoa, whoa. I'm like, Chantel, did you just see that? And obviously she didn't, because she's looking right at me. It's a right-hand drive vehicle that I have at the time, and she's looking right at me, talking away. So no one else saw it but me. And yeah, I was like, holy shit, that guy had completely black eyes. And I don't think Chantal has any idea of any of this kind of world. So she's like, oh, okay. And later that evening, I actually went to my very skeptical girlfriend's house. She was at the time I was with her, and she was a very skeptical person. I was just like, oh my god, this thing happened. I saw this, like, dude, and he had completely black eyes. And so she's like totally on it. She's like totally throwing out the debunking cards. Okay, well, it must have been the light. It must have been like a reflection from the paint, or like a shadow from like the roof of the car. I'm like, no, because I'm lining all these things up. I'm like, the sun was there. The sun was directly on him, and it was late afternoon, so he had full sunlight. And yeah, I can't debunk this. But yeah, it was very synchronistic, especially with the appearance of the second impossible fly. And within half an hour, I saw that black-eyed dude, and he was definitely keeping tabs on me. So
Okay, well, is there, since you already had an impossible fly moment, do you worry that there's confirmation bias in from the fact that you are waiting for synchronicity to arrive?
hmm. Uh, I don't feel I am waiting for synchronicity to arrive. Synchronicity just kind of happens, and if it does happen, I'll notice it because I've always got my like antenna up, anyways. But that was just too big of a synchronicity there. I mean, these flies do not exist around here. They don't exist. I've done the research. Like, I've even contacted UBC, University of British Columbia, the not etymology. What's insect? uh,
Oh yeah, I don't know.
it's something along those lines.
Bugology.
Anyways, the bug department, the experts in bugs, they never emailed me back. Like, I can't find any information on this fly, and I literally have searched probably a total of 10 hours trying to find this specific species of fly that I've seen twice and yet doesn't exist here. So
Let's put
if
it
I'm
out
gonna see
there. Let's put it
if
out
I'm
there.
gonna see it twice,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
anybody who's listening, do some research for us and see if you can find out. You're saying it's a 2-inch long fly, right?
yeah, like a 2-inch long horsefly-ish kind of
Okay.
thing.
And it would be up in BC, which would be even more
Yeah,
rare. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not like in South America.
no. It's Vancouver Island. I mean, I've looked up like the largest horseflies in the world, and they're in
Mm-hmm.
Europe. It's like this black horsefly that's maybe an inch and a half long. But this sucker, God, they were like 2 inches. I was holding my rock hammer on it. It was poking out either side, like and it's maddening. It really is.
You need
It's
a
like,
22 for that instead of a can of Raid.
come on, why can't I find this thing? I really do. I really had the drive to like find out if this was an actual species of fly that was living on Vancouver Island, or at least an
Right.
invasive species. But I can't even find any fly that big in the world. So, hey, you know, bug enthusiasts out there, insect enthusiasts out there, please contact me and let me know what the heck this creature is.
Now, you're going to be bummed out if someone finds out the name of this fly. Like, if they come back with it, does it, mute your story or the moments that you've had? I mean, I understand
Well,
how that might feel.
I don't think it does, because even if it's a natural occurring creature and not like just like a spark, a physical spark of the paranormal just there for me. Even if it's a naturally occurring creature They both came to me at very, very paranormal soaked times in my life. Incredibly soaked, incredibly paranormally soaked times. And even if it's a natural creature, then I will say, okay, cool, thank you. It's a natural creature, but it arrived in these totally synchronistic, just like boom, boom.
Right.
That, you know. So there's that. There's that left over, and yeah.
But if it doesn't exist, it adds weight to the story. You're saying if it does
Well,
exist, it doesn't
hell
take
yeah.
away the weight.
No, it doesn't take away the weight,
Yeah.
because it's my personal experience, and you know, if the second impossible fly experience wasn't followed up directly after with a black-eyed person sighting, okay, you know, that wouldn't carry the weight of this like personal experience. But because it was like boom boom, yeah, it's there with me. Like it is cataloged in my book of one of my like wow moments in paranormal experience.
It would be even crazier if he had fly eyes.
I think I would have drove off the road at that point. Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah,
you
I
got
mean, they may as well be fly eyes, big black
right.
eyes just staring at you. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll see if we can make the impossible fly possible. We'll see
Yeah.
what people can find out.
Bring it on, people.
Well, any last thoughts on debunking in general?
Well, I think it's incredibly important. Keep it as a primary toolkit. If you're into the paranormal, if you're an extended experiencer, or just a casual experiencer, keep that in your back pocket and pull that card out as much as you can, because the more chaff that you get away from the wheat, the sweeter those kernels are, man.
All right, man. I think that's what I would take away with it, and hopefully we didn't offend anybody. I'm not coming at people that are holding on to their bits of evidence and saying, you know, believe me at all cost. I'm talking to people that are rational, that you know, are new to this perhaps, or want to look at it through a different set of fly eyes and take away a little bit more than what they came with. And I hope this helped. But yeah, debunking. I think we probably trimmed every branch off that tree. Now I was going to ask you something too here, Alex. You had a copy. You had a chance to listen to the Al Moon Lab. And,
I did. I was going to bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your experience?
Okay, hella good. All right. Like, you set the tone so perfectly, and you go into the story with a really good cadence, and the amount of information in there is just awesome. Like there's so much in there, so many experiences, so many tied experiences, with various people, and the story just progresses. Like, well, it's not a story; it's your experience, right? In this, and especially with the addition of the audio in there, I'm glad you released it as an audio book, because to people who do listen, they can experience that as well, right there, in the storyline, which I think is very important. You would be missing out on that if with a paper book. But get into it. If you haven't listened to it, listeners, get into it. $3. Come on. What do you got to lose?
That's real nice of you, man. No, I was mainly asking just based upon the fact that you've had a more extraordinary life than my own. And as someone who is listening to someone who's
Well, I would say different different experiences. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I haven't
we both
experienced it
had
as a
really
child.
extraordinary things. Like
Yeah,
we really have, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I trust your opinion, and I appreciate the kind words. And if you want to get a copy of it, all you got to do is go be a $3 Patreon member. You can do it for a month and download a bunch of stuff, including the book, and you can absolutely download it. It's at patreon.com/strangebrow, and then it just boots you over to SoundCloud, and you can download it and put it on your favorite digital device. And it's 4.5 hours. That's how long it takes to read the story. 15 years and 4.5 hours is as quick as I could. A lot of audio in there, and I don't think I put any of the Daryl Adams digital device stuff. There might be an addendum to this book eventually after a couple months, but there'll be maybe some new sounds coming in for certain for people on Patreon. But anyway, the Al Moon Lab, $3, and let me know what you think of it. And
A shared paranormal experiment.
Boom, share it.
Yeah. I gotta say, while listening to that, I found myself slightly envious of some of the stuff that you have experienced.
Okay, like what?
The arc welding thing in the woods.
That one, yeah, that really shaped me.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, that's one I come back to. I don't come back to it every day, but I used to, and it's nearly, I think that happened in 2010 time frame, so 10 years. But yeah, it reminded me of being a three wise men following, the Star of Bethlehem.
Yeah.
Like it was so awe-inspiring, so angelic, so close and so low. I mean, less than 50 feet up or 75 feet up, and so big that it really, it does, those kind of events just, they change you, and not everybody's going to be on board with your new life after you've been changed like that. I mean, you understand that comment.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. I've never seen any lights in the woods, and to those people, you in particular, like I admit I do have this little kernel of like enviousness, because I would really love to see some.
Okay, well, the standing invite, as soon as they open up the borders.
Totally. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen the lights here on the property, and I'm trying to think if I've seen the lights at all in Washington yet. Maybe once real quick, but not on the scale that I want to. But maybe you're the frequency we need to amp up the lights out here. I don't know.
I definitely have to come back down. I mean, I gotta visit La Push again. I have apparently some unfinished business there that I gotta take care of.
Okay. Yeah, we got La Push. I think we were just in La Push last week. So yeah, that's a really cool area.
Yeah. I had this absolutely strange experience that I absolutely totally forgot about until like a month ago when someone reminded me. It's like, what?
Okay.
That happened? Yeah, don't you remember that?
And we'll try to get you out to Manresa Castle, which hopefully will be opening up here. Things are opening up. All the churches, I think, are open up now for Sunday worship, or whenever you go to church, I think you can. And I think nature will follow behind the spirit here. Retail stores aren't too far away, and I don't think hotels have shut down at all really out this way. But at Manresa Castle in Port Townsend, Washington, we were doing our bi-monthly events out there, and things got shut down because of COVID. But if we can get back, we'll get you out there. And it's just a super historic, beautiful landmark in Port Townsend.
So looking forward to coming. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool,
which reminds me, I got to get my passport.
Oh, I need one of those too. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that you didn't have one.
I let it lapse because I wasn't planning on going anywhere. So.
Right. Well, that takes a while. You don't just get those in a week.
Yeah, it's like a month or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll start on that now. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. Ah, shit. Tomorrow's Sunday. They're closed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Monday.
All right, man.
All right.
Hey,
Well, cheers.
good talking to you. We'll see you next
Yeah,
month.
you too. All right.
The impossible fly. Let's see if you can make it possible. A very strange, large, black fly from Alex's world. And once again, sitting back with one of his sour beers, which I guess one day, if he buys me a pint, I may have to try that. But it sounds just horrible. Give me a can of Rainier, ice cold Rainier, any day, rather than what Alex is attempting to call a beer. Okay, what do we have coming up? Oh, yeah, you can, as we mentioned, check out the Almoon Lab. That is available at strangebrowradio.com. $3, it's all yours. And I think eventually we'll have an addendum to that book there, especially for patron members that stay patron members. $3, it's yours. You can download it for $3 and then unsubscribe from patreon.com. But that's at patreon.com/strangebrowradio directly, or listen to a sample at strangebrowradio.com. And check out the old Strange Stroll. It's quite a story. Starvation Heights. I don't do it justice in my 30 minutes, of course, but the book, you could download the book, I'm sure, on Amazon and read it on Kindle, or I don't know what the other options are besides Kindle. I'm so out of the loop with it all, but check out Starvation Heights. Here's where we'll be every Monday. You can find us at strangebrowradio.com. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for hitting the little alert bell button on YouTube and checking out our merchandise. Got some really cool summer tees and hoodies available, coffee mugs and such. That's under the merch section at strangebrowradio.com. Plug. All right, you know how it goes. I will see you in the trees.